always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Final mock draft time. And we are just a couple of days away from the 49ers making their first selection in the NFL draft in 2025. And with it, this is going to be a mock draft where I'm not going to use a simulator. I'm not going to go through that. I have just made the selections of how I think the 49ers are going to do it. It's completely predictive. Am I going to be entirely correct? There's absolutely no way. Am I hoping to hit on a couple of these guys? Absolutely. And remember, these are not guys that I would normally select at all positions. Some of them I really like, but these are the way the 49ers are going to handle the draft, at least how I see it. And if I get it entirely wrong, well, that's a part of the process. There's just no way to know how the board is going to play out. You're just doing with it the best possible way you can with the knowledge that you have. Are you going to hit some years? Yes. Are you going to miss some years? Yes. Because this is a complete obstacle of figuring out exactly what other teams want as well, where players are going to fall in this draft. If you have to draft them early, late, it's definitely something that's difficult to figure out. So this is not going to be a long, drawn-out process. This is going to be one. I'm going to talk about the players that were there. I'm going to talk about the player the 49ers select. We're just going to kind of give an impression of what we think the 49ers are going to do. And at the end of the day, are you going to be happy if the 49ers come away with this draft haul? I'm not doing any trades, even though I do believe the 49ers may move up and down the board a little bit, depending on finding certain guys. And so this is just the way that it played out. But I'm super excited to get into this. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. So if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're into the home stretch for NBA and NHL playoffs. Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with all the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With a large selection of odds on everything from Major League Baseball, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head on over to our BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So what I did was I really looked at the 49ers visits. I looked at the top 30, and I started kind of getting an idea of where the 49ers broke on certain types of players. But we've been talking about value of players for a while. And one of the first things you notice in the first round is where you're going to find the most value as far as each pick is looking in certain areas, right? Quarterback, the number one value, offensive tackle, number two, and then defensive end, number three, right? It all revolves around the quarterback. So taking that into account, you have to have a disruptor. I think there is a plausible, reason or a plausible idea that the 49ers could go defensive tackle in round one. You got Walter Nolan, you got Derek Harmon. Of course, the 49ers did extensive work on Derek Harmon at his pro day, so that plays into it. They did a 30 visit with Walter Nolan. I just think when push comes to shove, the San Francisco 49ers are going to have a consensus on a defensive end, and I think they're going to go edge. Now, the question is, which edge defender are they going to go? Now, if this was an ant draft, I would go Mike Green, but I don't know what the off-the-field issues look like. I only know that this player is one of the best pass rushers in the entire draft. When he has an opportunity to win, he wins. He's a guy that produces at a high level. He's good enough against the run. This could be a 3-down stud defensive end for the 49ers, opposite of Nick Bosa for the next 5 years. I see that when I look at him. Do I think the 49ers are sold on Mike Green? Don't know, because I don't know the off-the-field issues. And we know if the off-the-field issues are a problem, the 49ers are going to completely just throw that out. So with that being said, it's going to be difficult for me to take Mike Green, even though I want everyone to know how much I would love for the 49ers to select Mike Green. I think he would be the perfect fit opposite of Bosa, the most D4-like guy. So then it comes down to a couple other guys if you're not going defensive tackle or offensive line. I think it comes down to Mikael Williams, who has been one of the consensus picks that a lot of people around have been saying. You're looking at the size 6'5", 265. He runs a 4.7 40. It's not lightning, but he's a guy that's, pretty good, pretty balanced, plays the run well. He hasn't really produced a lot when it comes to pass rush, but 14 sacks is not terrible over his career. I'd love to see it, right? 14 sacks in one season. That's the kind of production you're looking for opposite. Now, when you're talking about the other guy, you would go with that 11, potentially, Shamar Stewart. So you've got Mikael Williams, who you've seen the production. It's not great production, but you see what he can do. Then there's Shamar Stewart. That's completely projection. He's completely a guy that the 49ers have to bet on. Chris Kasarik developing in a lot of ways. And so that's what the question is. Are you going with the more for sure bet, right? The lower floor, but the, not as high ceiling with Mikael Williams, or the really super low floor potentially with a dynamite ceiling? Like, it's a boom or bust prospect with Shamar Stewart. Well, when taking that into account, I had to look at what the 49ers did last year. And they did not really go after boomer bust type picks. They went after guys that they felt very comfortable that they could be very solid. And right now, that's what you need is solid. So with the number 11 selection in the NFL draft, I think the 49ers are going to take Mikael Williams, defensive end, Georgia. And if you've been watching the channel for a long time, you know this is not an ant pick. This is what I think the 49ers are going to do. And so we'll see. I would be perfectly okay if they didn't go this direction. If they went a different direction and went with a Mike Green or somebody else, I think it would make a lot of sense. But I have a feeling with some of the ways that they've been looking at players that they are looking at guys like James Pierce Jr. if he potentially falls into round 2. So say someone falls early that they really like at another position, they could go offensive line, for instance. Let's say Armand Membu is there at 11. They could alter this and go Membu and then hope to pick up, one of those defensive ends, a Landon Jackson, a James Pierce Jr., one of those guys in round 2. So I think they're preparing for a few different things. And I think they're looking at Walter Nolan as a guy that could slide into the second round that they could potentially trade up for. I think you see that with a couple of positions, the 49ers with their 30 meetings and how they met guys. So Mikael Williams, pick number 11. Now in the second round, this one, because I have been preaching go D-line and go D-line, go D-line. You did get an edge defender in Mikael Williams with pick 11. I think the 49ers might go offensive tackle, and here's why. They have been meeting with a lot of second round, potentially, offensive linemen, and guys maybe that might slide, right? Like Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons could slide right out of the first round with the injury concerns. So when the 49ers are meeting with Josh Simmons, I don't think they're meeting with him with the idea he could potentially be pick 11. I think they're meeting with him for the fact that he might fall into the second round and they might be able to pounce and get the left tackle of the future with Josh Simmons. Now, I'm not going to select Josh Simmons because I do think he's going to end up going in the first round. What I'm saying is the 49ers are going to do their due diligence. You look at other guys who they think could be in this range if they go offensive tackle in round 1. Tyleik Williams, right? They met with him, a 30 visit. Walter Nolan. 2 guys that could slide to 43. TJ Sanders could be 43 or 75 when you're talking about guys who are in this area. Landon Jackson. So they did due diligence. I think the fact that they're meeting with some offensive linemen that could be in this range means they're considering going offensive tackle in round 2. And that's exactly what I decided that the 49ers were going to do. If this guy's on the board, they're going to select him with pick 43. Arianti Ursary, tackle, Minnesota. And you're talking 6'5", over 330 pounds, who runs a 5 flat 40 and can absolutely move. He's able to move people at the point of attack. He's able to move and get guys on the second level. I think this is a day 1 left guard starter for the 49ers. You improve your football team in day 1. Now you've got Ursary next to Trent Williams. That's one of the biggest left sides of the line you could possibly get. That's an investment in O-line. Dominic Pooney on the other side. You're feeling pretty comfortable about at least 3 of the 5 guys, right? Coleman Kivitz didn't have a bad season last year, better than this season before, but still, not great. But you've got Ursary here to potentially step in. He does another thing. If you need a left tackle during the season, something happens to Trent or Colton McKivitz, Ursary is a tackle that can play both. He's got that potential. Go watch his film last year against Penn State playing against Abdul Carter. He held up really well. But the opportunity, when John Lynch said, we've got to address left guard, I get it. They signed Ben Barch. Crazy low contract. They've got Spencer Burford. Okay. He's had experience playing guard. Arianti Ursary is a different cat. This dude, if you want to run on third down, you've got third and run behind Ursary, run behind Trent Williams, you're getting a first down. He will bring attitude, nastiness, and ability to that position. You want anchor? Arianti Ursary's got anchor. No one is going to drive him or Dominic Pooney back into Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's going to be able to step up into the pocket. This is investing in your offense to help Brock Purdy. So, Arianti Ursary, pick 43, and it was tough. But I'm reading what the 49ers are doing and saying, hey, unless a guy like Walter Nolan or Tyleik Williams are available at 43, a offensive lineman and Arianti Ursary makes a lot of sense. Now, I will say this completely. If Josh Simmons is on the board and Arianti Ursary is on the board, I think they will go Josh Simmons. The upside as a left tackle is better. But I believe Ursary could be a very solid left tackle in the NFL. I don't think he's just a guard. I do believe he can play guard initially and then translate out to left tackle when Trent Williams decides to retire, or next year move over to right tackle when Colton McKivitz potentially moves on. But remember this, it's a lot easier to find a right tackle in next year's draft. It's going to be a good draft for offensive line than it is to find a left tackle of the future if you're planning on picking in the late 20s, early 30s next year. So Ursary, I think, is that guy at pick 43. Number 75, I'm going with one of my favorite guys, and I think the 49ers are really high on him. They met with him a bunch of times, including a 30 visit. Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle, Tennessee. And there's some question marks about him stopping the run, but there's not question marks about him getting after the quarterback. You're looking for a guy that can replace the production on the inside of Eric Armstead, of Javon Hargrave, of getting to the quarterback. That's what he does. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, we need guys who can stop the run. The good news is you have Evan Anderson. He can stop the run. What Evan Anderson can't do is pass rush. He's just not good at it. That's not his game. What he is good at, though, is making sure that he can hold on to double teams and stop the run on first and second. Then you pull him off the field, and you get Omar Norman Lott on there. So if you are a firm believer in Evan Anderson, you love this play going with Omar Norman Lott. Omar Norman Lott steps in day one as a designated pass rusher, and I'm telling you, you're looking kind of nasty when you get into there. Right, this is the Braden Fisk play. Last year, the Rams drafted Braden Fisk. I knew a lot about him because of Florida State, and everyone said, hey, he's not great against the run. He gets moved in double teams, and then all the Braden Fisk did was have 8.5 sacks last year, and he made a huge difference on third down. That's what the 49ers could potentially get. You need closers. You need guys that can help finish. You got Mikael Williams in round 1. Now you get Omar Norman Lott in round 3, pick 75. And I get it. Is he a 3-down D tackle right now? No, but you're hoping he can develop into that. At pick 100, the 49ers go back to defensive line again. And this time I have him going to Florida State defensive tackle Joshua Farmer. Farmer is also built like a 3-tech, but is a lot better when it comes to stopping the run. He has 35-inch arms, which is crazy, ridiculous length. This dude is an upside pick. He's not going to have a super low floor, but he has a high ceiling. If he develops into the player that his skill set says he could become, this dude could be an absolute steal in this draft. So you go back-to-back defensive tackle and address it. You address defensive line in 3 of the first 4 picks, and I've been talking about this for a while, is looking at the way that Bill Walsh attacked the 1981 draft, and I think this kind of gets it done. You get a very talented player, and I know there's a lot of people that would have wanted me to go 1-tech here, with a guy that, like a CJ West or Jamari Caldwell, and I thought about it. But I think the 49ers, if they value Evan Anderson, which I believe they do, they will look at their roster right now, and they've got Evan Anderson and Jordan Elliott, and you can say whatever you want about Jordan Elliott, but they feel good about him. This isn't Ant, this is them. With that being said, that's 2 1-techs. You have Kevin Givens, and that's it. Kalia Davis is not a 3-tech. So you need 3-techs. Omar Norman Lott, your designated pass rusher. Joshua Farmer, a 3-down defensive end that could develop into a very solid player. So you get 2 guys with tremendous upside. One of them the best pass rusher in the draft in Omar Norman Lott. the other one with a guy that's got tremendous upside playing 3 tech, and you go with Joshua Farmer at 100. At 113, the 49ers go after linebacker Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. Good Arkansas film, good Ole Miss film. He's a guy that moves. He's a 49ers type linebacker. Undersized, 6'1", close to 230 pounds. I think that they have a real affinity for him. I think they like him a lot and the things he brings to the table. This is a very Robert Saleh-esque pick, and I think that Chris Paul could be a guy the 49ers target in the 4th round. I think a lot of people have had this guy graded in the round 3. I've seen him graded in round 4. I'm going with him being available at pick 113 and the 49ers getting a linebacker they feel very confident could step in and learn. He could step in maybe at Sam linebacker day 1. I think D. Winters will start at Will linebacker, especially initially, while Chris Paul gets his footing. But he's going to go in there and compete with Tatum, Bethune, and others for that Sam linebacker spot. But you're getting a linebacker for the future that fits what the 49ers do. He's good in coverage. He's a runner. Not elite speed, not elite size, but somebody that definitely does it at a high level. And this is, once again, what would the 49ers do? I think they go Chris Paul Jr. with pick 114 in the 4th round. The end of the 4th round, Quincy Riley, cornerback, Louisville, competitor. 49ers met with him on a top 30 visit as well. This is a guy that, if you know the channel, I was on Quincy Riley a long time ago as a guy I thought fit the 49ers because he's got that dog mentality, very Diamond Lenore-esque. He comes up and he competes. He's very physical at the point of attack, pretty good in coverage. He's got good footwork. He's got good fluid hips. And this is a dude that can play in the nickel. He could potentially play outside. So you've got a versatile piece in Quincy Riley, and you address kind of cornerback at the end of round 4 and get a guy that can make a huge difference for your football team. So I like this pick for the 49ers. There's other guys potentially right in this range that you could have went with. Kobe Bryant, I think, would be another possible player for the 49ers, another dog. He comes up, stops the run, 6 foot, 180 pounds. You maybe question a little bit of the size as far as, what is he going to do against bigger wide receivers? But you don't question, right, Kobe Bryant's ability to step up and stop the run. One of the best run defenders. Well, that's what you're getting with Quincy Riley as well. I think Kobe Bryant could be off the board. That's why I elected to go with Quincy Riley. But this dude, if he steps in, he's a dog. And there's other guys the 49ers might like a little bit early, but the way the board played out for me, Chris Paul instead of Jacob Parrish. And Jacob Parrish, I think, might go earlier than that. I think there's a chance Jacob Parrish goes between pick 75 and 100, which may put him out of the range of the 49ers getting him. So whether you get is Quincy Riley, which is a Jacob Parrish-esque player at the end of the 4th round. Still going to bring the juice, the physicality, the energy. He's a playmaker. So that's where I go. Quincy Riley at the end of the 4th round. In the first pick of the 5th round for the 49ers at pick 147, the Deebo Samuel trade pick, the 49ers select tight end Jalen Conyers out of Texas Tech. And I wanted to go tight end earlier. There were other guys, a Terrence Ferguson, right, a Gunnar Helm. I would love to go. But it was about going defense early. It was about addressing the inside portions of the defensive line, getting an offensive lineman, addressing the trenches, getting an Ursary. That was huge. And so what it did was move the tight end need down. But what you have is a need for a 3rd tight end. So how much is that player going to play? Took that into consideration and went ahead and waited until the 5th round to get Jalen Conyers, who could be your move tight end, develop a guy that's good catching the football and is a very adequate blocker. And I think he's going to get even better in that territory. I think this dude's athleticism, size, everything meets up well for the 49ers. And so you address tight end here. Like I said, you would love to go tight end earlier, but the way it played out, being able to get an Arianti Ursary in round 2, it's definitely made it, a little bit more easier to swallow. The fact that you're going to get this player later on in Jalen Conyers that's going to be a good football player for your team. So we wait until the 5th round to address tight end. Well, we started addressing a lot of our needs. You went edge in round 1, offensive tackle in round 2, Omar Norman-Law D tackle in round 3, the other 3rd round pick Joshua Farmer D tackle, then linebacker, then corner, now tight end. You're addressing needs, but you're doing it kind of by positional value where those guys are going to be. And so that's where I went. Quincy Riley, then Jalen Conyers so far here between the end of round 4 and round 5. The 49ers have one more 5th-round pick. This is the one they did the pick swap for Jordan Mason. So they were a little bit further back. Now they moved up to pick 160. And with the 160 pick in the NFL draft, I have the 49ers selecting Nick Nash, wide receiver, San Jose State. 6'2", a little over 200 pounds, versatile receiver that can play multiple positions, which the 49ers are going to need early on, with Demarcus Robinson, according to Matt Miyoko, potentially getting a 3-game suspension. I do expect the 49ers to post-draft address free agency a little bit and maybe pick up another player. They were in on Devontae Adams. That was reported today. He said that they wanted to get him wholesale. He's not a wholesale player. He's retail. They didn't want to pay that. So maybe they're waiting. An Amari Cooper, a Keenan Allen. There's some guys out there. The 49ers could still address this with a veteran wide receiver. But I think looking at Nick Nash at the, in round 5, I think this is a huge value for a guy that's got a lot of ability. He went to the 49ers local pro day, and I think he could be a target. There's other guys I considered in this same slot, a Keandre Lambert-Smith, a Pat Bryant, who I thought probably would be off the board with Pat Bryant, but Smith and Andrew Armstrong, I thought there were talented guys, but I thought Nash's versatility and what he would offer, the fact he could play X, he could play Z, I thought he made a lot of sense for the 49ers in this particular area. So I went ahead and went with Nick Nash, wide receiver, San Jose State. He doesn't have to go very far to play with the 49ers. At pick 227, one of the 49ers' first third-round picks, it's Kane Medrano, linebacker, UCLA. And Medrano is one of the faster linebackers in this draft. He ran a 4.46. There's lots of linebackers now at the pro days that hit a little bit faster than that. One even going in the 4.3 with Hippolito. So there are some fast dudes, or Hippolyte, I'm sorry, that are super fast that play linebacker. But Kane Medrano, he played next to Carson Schwetzinger, and I thought he held himself up pretty good. I think he's a developmental linebacker. But when you're looking at athleticism, the fact he was able to roam around and make some plays, I think Kane Medrano, late round, right? You get Chris Paul early, you get Medrano later. They help you with special teams early on, but they're developmental guys that fit the system and what you're looking for when you're talking about a Robert Saleh defense. And so Medrano, great value in round 7. We'll see if he makes it there. Right now, most of the predictions are he's going to go somewhere between round 6 and 7. So I did take a little bit of a chance here that he's going to make it. Maybe people are valuing him because of his speed, but you're talking about a guy that can cover, a guy that can run. He's got a lot of potential. Needs to get a little bit better when it comes to run fits and that sort of thing. But you're talking about a 7th round linebacker. So I think you'll feel pretty comfortable about that. Now, in the last 2 picks, it was interesting to find guys that will be there that the 49ers could potentially target. There are a lot of guys that I really like in this draft that I just don't think are going to be there. So I went with the 2 most likely guys to potentially be there that are positions I think the 49ers could either double up on or hit somebody that they want to add depth to see what they got. Starts out with 249. Bilal Cohn, cornerback, Western Kentucky. And if you haven't watched him, you should go check him out. Bilal Cohn is not like my favorite cornerback that, is in this range, right? You guys have heard me talk about Robert Longerbeam. I think Longerbeam might be gone at this point. Same with some of the other guys. Cypress from Florida State, I think he might be gone. So when you're looking for guys, I think that he's a potential guy that could still be there. And I think that's why they met with him. But he competes, he drives on the football, he plays physical, he fits the 49ers scheme, and he fits the 49ers system. And it would allow you to double up at the position. You get Quincy Riley, who could be a nickel corner, maybe a boundary corner who competes with all that physicality. And then you get Cohn later on in the 7th round, a guy that's got the length. He's got the ability to play boundary corner in the NFL, but he's a guy that competes and he gets physical. And I think it is necessary for the 49ers to get 2 corners. I was trying to find a way for them to be able to draft another corner earlier. It just didn't work out with the way the 49ers, I think, are going to address it, kind of looking at their top 30 visits and seeing how they're meeting with guys. It appears these are the ranges that they're going for certain positions. And so Cohn ends up being the selection. And I think it's interesting for Cohn because I do think he could be a very solid cornerback in the NFL. And the 49ers right now have guys like Trey Brown. What is he going to be? Right now, he's the 3rd corner. You've got Tomlinson, right? What's he going to be? Former high draft pick who they picked up on waivers. What are you going to get out of Jarrell Luter Jr.? That's a question mark. So 49ers have more questions right now than answers, but they're trying to get this thing together. And I think Bilal Cohn could help this football team. And this is a nice 7th round pick. When you're drafting in this range, the 7th round, these guys have to have the ability to help you on special teams and have to have the ability to potentially make your team. That's what I did with Kane Medrano, guy that can make the team, that can help on special teams. And that's what I'm doing with Bilal Cohn. Same sort of thing. You haven't got great special teams play from Jarrell Luter Jr. Bilal Cohn will help you out extensively with that. And with the last pick, I went with a guy that might not be here. I mean, he might go earlier. He might not get drafted. It's up in the air. But I went with a running back, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, running back, Arizona. I like him. He's big. He's physical. He's fast. He can move. I think there's a lot of value to get him. I love his vision. I love his explosiveness. He's not hyper athletic, but you're talking about a big body that runs through tackles, and he was the MVP of the Shrine Bowl. So this is a dude that didn't play a lot during the season, but when you go back and you watch his film against when he played for New Mexico in 2023, it was really good. You look at what he did in the Shrine Bowl, it was fantastic. See some of those highlights with Arizona as well. Very talented dude. I think this dude fits what the 49ers want to do at the running back position, and you add depth. And that's the whole key. Right now, the 49ers running back room, of course, Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerendo, it's phenomenal. Guerendo was really good. And I'll say this, earlier on in the draft, I wanted to take Michelle Tutin, but looking at other needs, this wasn't an Ant draft, this was a Niner draft, but they could go Tutin earlier. They could go with a running back earlier and kind of push this stuff down, potentially. Maybe they will. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers, about pick 113 through the end of the draft, look running back. So just keep that in mind when watching the 49ers draft this year. But I went with Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt just so the 49ers know they get him and don't lose him. And as an undrafted free agent, sometimes those priority guys will go to other teams if they see a log jam at the position. Because the 49ers do have, Patrick Taylor Jr., they have Israel Bandakanda. So capable backups. I don't know how people feel about Bandakanda, but he was a 5th round pick who I was a huge fan of a few years ago. So you got him from the Jets. He fits the scheme and what they're looking for. But Crosky-Merritt is a bigger body, right? He's more of the Isaac Guerendo physicality-wise. He doesn't have that speed, but he is a Patrick Taylor-esque type player when it comes to size and kind of build. When it comes to athleticism and reading holes, I think he's far beyond Patrick Taylor. So you could get younger at the position and potentially get a guy that could do a lot, that could develop into a big-time player. So I like Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt for the 49ers in round 7. So just to go over this again, this is the mock draft for this one. This is what I think the 49ers are going to do. In round 1, Mikael Williams, edge, Georgia. Number 2, in the 2nd round, Arianti Ursary, offensive tackle, Minnesota at pick 43. At pick 75, first pick of the 3rd round for the 49ers, Omar Norman Lott, defensive tackle from Tennessee. Then at the comp pick 100, the end of the 3rd round, 49ers go Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State, 35-inch arms, more bigger physical 3-tech of the two guys. Now, number 113, they go linebacker, Chris Paul Jr., who they really, really like. Really good film, athletic guy. People like him. Quincy Riley, cornerback from Louisville at pick 138. At 147, first pick of the 5th round, Jalen Conyers, tight end, Texas Tech. The 49ers get their move tight end. In the Jordan Mason pick 160, the 49ers select Nick Nash, wide receiver, San Jose State, 6'2", 200-pound wide receiver. Pick 227, their first pick in the 7th round, Kane Medrano, linebacker, UCLA, 4'4", 6 guy, really speed, athleticism, another guy that fits the scheme. At pick 249, Bilal Cohn, cornerback, Western Kentucky, and I think that 7th round would be a great spot for him, and I think he fits the scheme. And then their last pick in the 7th round, they take running back Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt from Arizona. So that is the 49ers selections in this mock draft, and it's the final mock draft. No more mock drafts for me. Mock draft out, but this is what I went ahead and came up with. Let me know. What do you think about it? Where do you think the 49ers will go? I'm open to the conversation. I agonized over this one a lot, but would you be happy with this draft that I put together for the 49ers that I think they're going to draft? I would have rather win a couple of different spots at different areas, different players, but this isn't what I would do. This is what I think they're going to do. So let me know what you would do, what you would change, and what you think the 49ers will do differently in the comment section. And I'm looking forward to reading those. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.